Okay, now we're going to look at using the HMI. HMI stands for Human Machine Interface, and it's this green panel over here. And the green panel has separate software to configure it or program it, and we're going to start with this basic program. In this program, I'm going to just make sure I've downloaded it, and we're going to see that it simply turns on the green light. So here, we'll hit download and transfer. And sure enough, if I hit X1, the light comes on. But if we look at the ladder, I've got an OR with a memory bit called C1. And I've labeled it HMI start button. So on the HMI, I want to have two things. I want to have my HMI start button, and I want to have a green light so the operator can see it. To do that, we're going to start the software underneath Automation Direct, Seymour Micro. Now on the HMI, we're going to need to know what model it is, because it says, here's my project, I want to browse, you'll want to browse to your own home directory. And I'm just going to call this Simple HMI, but now I've got to drop down here and pick one of these models. There's two ways to be able to find that out. One, your wonderful instructors and staff have put a nice label here. The other way is to go F1, F5, and go to the information screen, hit enter, and go down to version, and it will show you the model, EA1 S3ML. EA1 S3ML. Then you have to pick protocol. Since we're using a click PLC using serial connection, and I'll show you, that's what these little connectors have been, they're all serial. We'll see that in a moment in detail. We need to pick that. Now that being said, we're set to go, and up will come the software. Now as we remember, we had a simple PLC program which was X1 and C1, so we're going to work with that. So here I'm going to go to the object menu. I'm going to get a push button. I'm going to just click on the screen, and I'm going to label the push button. These are optional things depending on your project, but I'm always going to label these both to on. It just makes better sense when using the software. Now it's going to need a tag. There are ways to export from the HMI, but we're just going to do it manually, and we're just going to say, hey, this is my HMI _ start push button. Down here, I want to make sure that I make this a momentary on. As soon as I try and select that, it says, well, you have to tell me what address. I'm going to pick C and give the address of 1. In future items, if you don't see your memory address, it's because you picked the wrong type of object. So there I'm going to say momentary on HMI start button. So when we push this button, it will turn on memory location C1. Another trick I like is if I just hover the cursor here, it'll show me the address so I can check a tag. So there's my push button there. Now I'm going to go get another object. Here I'm going to get an indicator, and I'll get a graphic light. Again, I'm just going to click on the screen. I'm going to pick this indicator light. We'll do the LED. And again, I need a tag. So I think the program called it motor. This is where it's next to export. I'm not going to use a label. And here I'm going to go, this is going to look at Y1. So now we can hover there, see it's Y1. It's the LED type. And we're not going to use a label. You can kind of see over here that all that text is going to be above it. Maybe. That might fit. There we go, okay. So now what we have, I've clicked and dragged this. If you do want to size it, always grab the corner, then it kind of goes proportionally. But I'm going to leave it there. And now I need to do a couple things. I need to send this project to the panel. Well, that's a couple steps. This is in the PC, and we needed to get it to this panel. So we have to take this from wherever it is and put it into this USB to serial converter. I'm going to say send project to panel. Sometimes that's hard to see, they're so obvious. I'm going to say save. It's going to save it where I've ever told it. You'll want to make sure it's in your folder. Now, very similar, I have to pick, remember COM4 I think was our PLC. I'm going to guess we're on COM5. Then I'm going to hit transfer. And at this point, it's going to come up with an error. Panel is not in setup mode. Now this is talking about the panel. So we don't want to hit the PC switches. We want to go over here and go F1 and F5. The reason it's switched, we lost power when we moved the cable. Or your cable's not connected, or you're just the wrong adapter. So we'll try it again. Hit transfer. So now, apparently I picked the wrong panel type. It says that's not the correct panel type. So this is a little more than we need to do, but if we go into Panel Manager, here it says, oh, I have an EA1. So EA1 S3ML. So that's my error there. And so there's also different tabs here you'll see as you get more familiar with the software. So now I'm going to go back to send. It always wants to save it. We're on COM5, and we are still in the setup screen. And so we can see on the software it's transferring. It should be saying it's loading a project, and then it's transferring through. And we see the same thing on the PC, where it's transferring the files over. HMIs are very handy items. They allow us to add infinite number of buttons and indicators and other features. So now this software is done, and often what happens is we go to our PLC software where we can see it starts, but if you zoom in here on the screen, we'll see on the top it says PLC COM error. It's a timeout. Oh, that's because I'm not connected to the PLC. I have to move the cable from the programming device to the PLC that I want to go. It powers it up. Now when I hit this, the light should turn on, and we see it indicated here as well as here and over on the ladder logic. So now I can start my system from either the HMI or the local hardware button. The HMI then is those two parts. You first write the PLC program. After you write the PLC program, you make the HMI, download them, and connect them.